So, you've probably heard about Project Cars 3 and that it pretty much disappointed most of its fans. Well, we'll soon explain what was the one main mistake that the developers made that basically led to all of this. So, was it the physics? Was it the force feedback? The handling? Well, not quite exactly, because that was taken from the Project Cars 2, so it's a bit more complicated than that. So let's look at how the Project Cars 3 concept was born. So Slightly Mad Studios knew that basically Project Cars was not the most realistic of the sims, that there were sims out there which provide better physics. So it was more like the worst of the best, which still made it fun and realistic. And Project Cars always had a bit less hardcore community than the other hardcore sims. So then the developers had the idea to bring something to the market that isn't available right now. So that's basically a Need for Speed style arcade racer with realistic physics and handling. That was actually the main idea behind Project Cars 3, even though many sim racers are not even aware of that. I myself, despite being one of the most hardcore realism lovers, still love the idea a lot. I guess maybe it was for my nostalgia for the Need for Speed games that I played when I was a child. So I found this idea awesome because we have so many sims which are basically all the same with some differences in physics, but we didn't have this kind of an arcade racer with realistic handling. But I do realize that it clearly wasn't something that all sim racers are craving. Some sim racers are really like, oh, this track doesn't exist in the real life. Oh, it's not a sim. You know, some sim racers are really like that a bit, and I guess less open-minded. I mean, this mixing of simulation and arcade is kind of something that isn't possible in real life, but it is fun. It can be fun, but it's clearly not something for every sim racer. So this means the initial target audience was actually us, the sim racers. So those who wanted a realistic handling with a night city Need for Speed style racer, whatever you want to call it. But then what happened? The developers thought, okay, since we're doing this more arcade-like, then why don't we not only get the sim racers on the boat, but also the arcade racers for selling more copies, for making more money. After all, Gran Turismo and Forza are successful, right? Well, wrong actually. It didn't quite work out that way. And this was actually their main mistake, which led to a series of design decisions later. It was already difficult enough to combine an arcade-style racer with realistic physics. And then they started to adjusting more things to make it even more arcade-friendly. They removed things like tire wear and tire temperatures, making the grip stable and optimal all the time. They pretty much removed the track condition variability and the fuel consumption, and then they went on to change a couple of more things in order to make it even more arcade friendly. So what was the outcome of this? Well, basically, they tried targeting two very different groups and then ended up not appealing to any of them. So for the sim racers, it was really annoying. Not only this image loss from the trailers and everything, but they removed things like tire temperatures and wear and fuel consumption, and yeah, this kind of was very annoying for the sim racers. And for the arcade players, it wasn't really interesting enough as an arcade racer because there were better titles out there in those terms. So to end this, I will say they should have kept the sim racers as the target audience. And those who tried Project Cars 3 have actually realized how difficult it actually is to combine the arcade style racing with sim racing and realistic handling. But they should have focused just on that, and they should have kept their slogan as an arcade racer with realistic physics. This way, they would have at least appealed to a specific group within the sim racer community, rather than trying to target both groups. So guys, what about you? Did you like the initial idea they've had? Do you find they still succeeded? Or do you find they could have just implemented it better? Or are you actually one of those who kind of find that arcade racing and sim racing can never be mixed well together?